Once upon a time, in this country, snatching ballot boxes, stuffing ballot boxes, writing election results in questionable places, at questionable times, in questionable locations, was the story. Then the nation witnessed a dramatic turn or a dramatic twist by an electoral law that changed the dynamics of everything. It is called the Electoral Law 2022. Welcome to the agenda. My name is Akinduro. In this episode, we shall be talking about the subject, confronting, curbing electoral malpractices. In this episode, I'm joined by communication and technology evangelist, a person who was once the essay on digital media to one of the governors in the southwestern part of Nigeria. He has worked in multiple dimensions in the media space, and he's still very much active in that space. Make welcome to the agenda, John Paul Akinduro. Welcome to the agenda, Mr. Akinduro. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Bjorn.
All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about the subject of confronting and curbing electoral malpractices. What do you think is the bane or the reason or the trigger why election malpractices still occurs in a society like ours?
Yeah, thank you very much. Like I said, this is an interesting topic, and it's coming, at this time that we're having, the election is about 20-something days away. If I'm not mistaken, about
a couple of days away, yes.
A couple of days away. So we are, historically, it has been the story. This has been the story so far. I can remember, for as far as I can remember, election, or let's say electoral fraud. So when we say malpractice, sometimes people don't understand. Let us use the word fraud. Electoral fraud has been with us for,
as far back as we can remember.
As we can remember. Now, thankfully, last year we had this new electoral law that empowers INEC to electronically transmit results from the polling units to the server, so that you and I can also watch and monitor the results as we're voting.
In real time.
Now, yeah, in the past, it wasn't like that. In the past, those who illegally interfere with the results do it on the way to the collation center. And you and I know that this are hard to reach terrain. That you don't get, sometimes no network, sometimes the roads are bad. So on your way from the remotest village, they know the stronghold, they know where they perpetrate all those things. On their way at night, most times. The transportation happens most times at night. So when they go on their way, they are intercepted, or they manipulate, or they connive, or they do whatever. And what we see the following morning is a different result. Now, we thank God that we have this type of electoral act in place that has allowed BVAS, that has allowed IREV, that has allowed electronic transmission of results. Now, what do we need to do? Our duty, civic duty, as Nigerians, is to ensure that this does not fail. So we don't just get somewhere and we say because there's no 4G, or because the network is fluctuating, or because of this and that, we are in a hurry to cancel that process and begin manually, if there's any room for that anyways. So we shouldn't be in a hurry. Then we shouldn't also act as tools or pawns in the hands of politicians who are willing or hell-bent on do or die affairs, or making it something they must achieve by any means, by whatever means.
Mr. Akinduro, allow me to interrupt you briefly. With poverty, with the weaponization of poverty, do you not think that electoral fraud will remain with us? You mentioned a word that the citizens should not allow themselves to be pawns. A poor man can be controlled. A poor man can easily be manipulated. So if he's hungry, he doesn't have access to a qualitative life. Do you not think that he will be a willing partner in electoral fraud, as you call it?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you are correct. But we can't just sit idly and say because the man is hungry. I used to tell my wife something. I said, there's always an excuse for doing something bad. I mean, if you cheat on your wife, for instance, she might say because she's not cooking well, or she's not greeting you right, or she's not dressing well. So if you are late to school, you have an excuse. If you are late to church, you have an excuse. If you are late to work, you have an excuse. So there's always an excuse. If you are caught doing something bad, by law enforcement agents, you have an excuse. So my point exactly is that it is our job, those of us who are a bit privileged and who are a bit comfortable and who have this space, the digital space, the media space, to educate, to, orientate our people in the rural areas. I've worked extensively, with politicians and political actors. So I understand what I'm saying. So it is our job to also know that we must not compromise. We must, do our job in a responsible manner so that the people can get, uncensored information from us. They can get the right information that the media can actually inform and not mislead the public. Now, the thing is that if we were saying we're talking about this electronic transmission and
the Beaver system.
Yes, because politicians have found, there's a let me call it a roadblock along that path. Now they have tried to bypass it. Vote buying was with us before now, but they have intensified their efforts to get it done because they know that is the only way they can legitimately get as many as possible people to vote on that day. And there is no technicality except in cases where you have drones and cameras and you see a particular politician inducing people. So that can be proven in court. So they know that, so they are bypassing it. And what you are trying to say is that, can we now say that those who are poor, who have been impoverished for far too long, will not collect 500 naira and vote? Will not collect even 100 naira in some places where the stakes are not so high and vote? So the point I'm making is that we must continue to educate our people. We must, intensify voters' education.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Akinduro. I need to make reference to something you said in the course of your communication. You mentioned the word justice. In the recent years in the nation Nigeria, the courts, the judiciary, has had to determine who the elected representative of the people are or is. It has become a norm that people will go to the ballot, to the polling station, vote the elected representative. After they've voted, it will become a subject of litigation at the election petition tribunals. It will go all the way. In some instances, the Supreme Court has decided who the governor of a state will be. And in some cases, the Supreme Court has settled who the president is. A lot of people believe that the wheels of justice move slowly. Some people perceive that it is not a reflection of their will in the judiciary system. So rather than go all the way in the judicial system, they will perfect the electoral fraud, look for loopholes in the system. You spoke about vote buying. Since they know that we need to find it, why do we consistently look for ways to short-circuit the justice system? Is it that the citizens deserve the leaders they get? Or is it that our democracy as a nation is still at its infancy stage? 1999 is when we started this new journey. And it is the first time in our history that we have had democratic process uninterrupted. What sayest thou? The judiciary, the justice system, the political gladiators looking for loopholes to game the system, because this malpractices or fraud, as you call it, they have become a disturbing factor that has contributed to voter apathy. Somebody will tell you that I will vote for the person I want according to my conscience, but the judiciary can come up with somebody else. What do you say, Mr. Akinduro?
Yeah, thank you, Biodu. You see, in that case, there are a few things I need to clear. The judiciary, bad as you think it may sound now, is still the last hope of the common man. Let me give you instances. We've had it in Edo, we had it in Ondo, we had it, in Ekiti, we had it across the country.
In different states, yes.
In different states, whereby those who were cheated at the poll.
We had it in Anambra.
You had it in Anambra, sought justice. And, they got their mandate back. Now, politicians are clever. And, clever people are not really smart people. They are clever because they want to, outsmart you. So they go around, the system. Even in America, in the almighty America, you saw it. You saw what happened in their last election that, gave birth to the January 6th insurrection. So we and that's a democracy who is over 200 years
200 years old. Yes.
Now, yes, so we will continue to do our bit to ensure that the system is cleaner. And I said something the other time. I said, despite all efforts to sensitize people to talk about electoral fraud and the rest of them, just one policy, just a tweak in the electoral act or electoral law,
the law,
gave birth to the electoral transmission of results. And other politicians have debated among themselves that how do we even bypass this system? They look for another way. And that brings me to the issue of this Naira redesign. Now, it's coming, well, maybe not at the right time. Maybe this should have happened about 6 months ago. Maybe this should have happened about 3-4 months ago. Maybe this untold hardship on an average Nigerian, on a poor Nigerian, shouldn't have been there if it had happened, some
much earlier.
That the redesign, effectively implementing the cashless policy will ensure we'll stop vote buying. So just like we do it, we say it in the social term that don't say I didn't do anything for you this year. That's what the president just did. You understand? That's I've given you one electoral act, that ensures that your votes will count, at least to a large extent. And I'm also giving you Naira redesign, effecting or religiously implementing or gradually implementing the cashless policy that has been in place for a very long time. And we have said this over time that this cashless policy will curb insecurity, will also help us sanitize our electoral system. Now politicians are running enter-skater. At least the ones I have seen, they don't have the cash. So if you don't have the cash, what do? You intensify your efforts to campaign rigorously, to convince the electorates, to ensure that the system also is credible. Because you know that you can't afford to be shut out of the system. If you don't, support the system, support a credible election, you might be the victim. So what politicians are doing now is that speaking, debating among themselves that let us go out there and meet the voters. Then for voters who were thinking before now, because a lot of people went to collect their PVCs because they wanted to sell their votes. Now this time around, some of them will also be having a reorientation. That we can't, because if I don't give, if Party A doesn't give, Party B doesn't give, Party C doesn't give, the three political parties did not give anything. Will not give anything. Then you vote your conscience.
You vote your conscience.
You vote your conscience. It's a process that we have started, and it is gradual. And you see, and I say it with all sense of modesty, that Nigeria today is still a bit, in terms of democracy, we are getting there. But we may be far from what we ourselves, when we projected.
What we're desirous of.
Yes, what's charged?
Okay.
1999.
Okay. Mr. Akinduro, all the thoughts, I know you have more to share. When we come back, I will be asking John Paul Akinduro some fundamental questions with regards to electoral malpractices at the polling station, with regards to some of the matters he has raised. Don't go anywhere. This is The Agenda. Welcome back to The Agenda. My name still remains Abiodun Famujura. I have been joined live by John Paul Akinduro, a communication and technology evangelist, and we've been talking about curbing electoral malpractices. And he's been talking about voting with conscience and the strategy of the electoral law, curbing those excesses and doing some things. Now, you said something about voting your conscience. Mr. Akinduro, do you not think that the Naira redesign, people campaigning vigorously right now, that some people will say to themselves that, look, we will not make anything from this election because nobody's paying us, because there's no cash. Why don't we just stay away from voting? Because some people have advocated that when you do not vote, somebody will vote in your place. And in that gap, if there is anything of such, that is an advocacy by some people. With that gap, electoral malpractices or fraud will be perpetrated. What do you say?
Not anymore. Nobody can vote in your place. It's impossible now this time.
Courtesy of the electoral law.
Yes, what we have seen that INEC has put in place, that the president, the National Assembly, and everyone, has put in place. It is impossible for anyone to vote in your place.
What about underage voting?
That will reduce. It may not be totally impossible because it's a computer system. It's what you put in that you get. So if I go there, because we don't have any database, you don't know. I can't even verify when you were born.
So we are the risk, Mr. Akinduro, we are the risk of underage voting as a malpractice. That is a loophole.
It's a loophole, but we will get there. Let us continue to eradicate, let's kill the hurdles one after the other.
Okay.
We have done now. Later, after this one, the next person that is coming in after this election, okay, fine. There is still a bit of fraud here and there. Let's look at it. Set up a committee. I don't mean the usual jamboree. Set up a meaningful, technical, productive committee and say, look into it. Let us look at it. What are still the issues? Are there still issues with our electoral system? Do we have underage voting massively from one part of the country or the other? So we look at that one. But there will be voter apathy, just to go back to your question. In this election.
There will be voter apathy?
Yes, generally, people will not be able to get themselves to the polling units. A drop of, a bike drop, or how do you call it now, of Okada, in some places it ranges between 500 and 1,000 naira. Some people we buy naira. You have 1,000 naira, 5,000 naira to buy 4,000 naira, like we're buying dollars. I'm sure you must have seen all of those things on social media. So it is difficult. Some people cannot even feed. Some people cannot even think straight. People are at the ATM booths here almost everywhere in the country. You've seen what is happening in the banking halls. So people are not thinking straight. So some of them will just say, see, we're not even going anywhere.
But if Mr. Akinduro, if all of that is resolved before the elections, do you believe that we will have credible election this time around? If all of the financial challenges that are presently ongoing with the redesign of the Naira is resolved before that time, do you think we will have a better voter turnout?
It is possible. You cannot really say. Why? Because in this election, there are two things that will propel the people. There is hunger, for instance. People are also they are disgruntled. I mean, we have a country that doesn't seem to care for the masses. So some people will say, instead of me going out there to suffer the more, to trek down to my polling unit, I'd rather stay back home and be watching Africa Magic.
Mr. Akinduro, allow me to ask you a question. My apologies. You made a statement, and I like it when you make statements that I can draw inferences from. That it seems that we have a country that does not care about the masses. Do the masses care about their country? Allow me to use this as an example, okay? Recent developments in the Naira redesign subject matter that you raised, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt and Other Related Offenses Commission made a startling discovery that certain financial institutions were loading the ATM, the automated teller machines, with the wrappers still intact, such that they could not dispense. That is not an act of the government. That is not an act of the presidency. That is the act of a branch manager and operations manager, who you would ordinarily say falls within the definition of the masses. Recently, a video went viral on social media of a social media influencer spraying brand new notes that Nigerians could not access. That is not an act of the government. That is an act of a fellow Massian, if I will create a word, masses for Massian. So do the masses care enough about themselves? Someone has impoverished your life, reduced the quality of your life in the last number of years, and that same person is telling you, I will make it right, vote for me. How does that sound to you? That the masses, how does that sound to you? Please go ahead.
You say he's an angry man, he's an hungry man. You see, when someone is poor, poverty is not only lack of food to eat. It goes beyond that. Someone can be poor mentally. If you are not harmed, sufficiently with sufficient knowledge on how to go about some of these things, you don't even care. Your thinking, your reasoning is not even along the line of what a normal human being should reason. Now, it's a case of the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first? It trickles down. And the Bible says, maybe in Proverbs, I'm not good at quoting the Bible, but when they say when the righteous are in authority, the people will rejoice. And when it is the other side, the people mourn. Now, in this particular case, if you permit me to just make this case study, when the president came in 2015, there was something we're calling body language. And later, some people were making jest of him that body language has changed to body odor. Now, the body language, I'll tell you, my brother, even down to the local government secretariat, people were being careful. They were thinking that it was as if the president was watching behind their back. I don't know if you get my point.
I get your point.
So when the system is corrupt from top to bottom, it trickles down. There's nothing you want to say about it. Even in our churches, in our respected churches, when the general overseer is doing something right, you see a large number of people. Yeah, you see some Judases, here and there, but you see a large number of people saying, no, we mustn't do it this way. Some kind of people, I don't want to mention names, are following, massively a particular candidate who appears to be an anti-establishment candidate. Those people, when you intervene or you relate with them, you realize that their mindset is beginning to change. Because they are being fired by this person who has not even gotten into office. And my point exactly is that it trickles down. The policy and the policing system, the way we do our things, when we say there are laws in place, but who upholds those laws?
Who upholds the law?
Nobody. So even when you see someone who should be in charge, someone who should be a law enforcer, the person is also a culprit. So the point I'm making is that if we had, put all these factors into consideration before redesigning the Naira, which is not something the president, the CBN just thought of overnight. That's why it's almost looking like a political tool. But this should have been done. We had the
some months before now.
We had several, terrorist attacks last year. There were there were killings, there were kidnappings.
So there were sufficient reasons, Mr. Akinduro, for them to have done this earlier. Okay, Mr. John Paul Akinduro, I need to apologize. Whenever we're having conversations of this nature, time has never been our friend. I want to express profound gratitude of the entire production team to you being here with us. We look forward to receiving you at another time when we will engage productively. Thank you, John Paul Akinduro. Wherever you are joining us, this is Abiodun Famujura for The Agenda. Connect with us on our various social media platforms. Please take note. Your vote counts. In this democratic process, you matter. Let your presence be known. Let it be felt. And together we will have the Nigeria of our dreams. Like you can observe in this production cycle of The Agenda, I am representing an authentic Nigerian. My cap and my dressing is a reflection of what I believe in. I am not a Nigerian by tribe or ethnicity. I am a Nigerian because I believe in one nation. This has been The Agenda. See you soon. Bye for now.